What if Ryomen Sukuna met Jesus? When the power that never knelt meets a love that never retreats. Sukuna always knew who he was, not by construction, not by trauma, but by choice. While other characters in the world needed pain to become monsters, he chose to be. Consciousness did not limit him, it refined him. The absence of guilt did not corrode him, it strengthened him. He was not born broken, he was born whole in his own wickedness. And that made him different, more dangerous, more absolute. The world called him king because there was no other possible name. Where he passed, order dissolved. Where he spoke, fear learned to listen. Where he smiled, lives were measured as entertainment. He did not seek acceptance, he sought dominance. He did not want understanding, he wanted submission. He did not desire love. Love was weakness, and weakness was something he crushed. And yet, there was something that irritated him more than any resistance. The absence of fear. The silence that did not tremble. The gaze that did not flee. Sukuna could not stand this because his entire reign was built on a simple truth. The world bends when it is afraid. But what to do when someone does not bend? That night, the space around felt wrong. Not distorted like a curse. Wrong like something that did not belong to the known laws. The air carried no hostility. There was no intention to attack, no aggressive spiritual presence. It was stillness. A stillness that did not ask for permission. Sukuna first felt discomfort, then boredom, and finally, curiosity, a rare feeling, but not non-existent. He did not move. He did not need to. The world was coming to him. The figure appeared without spectacle, without portals tearing through space, without explosions of energy, just presence. A man of simple appearance, common clothes, firm steps. He carried no weapons. He activated no defenses. He did not protect himself. He did not challenge him. He simply walked, like someone who has already arrived. Sukuna smiled. You took the wrong path. The man stopped a few meters away. His gaze was neither harsh nor naive. It was lucid, a gaze that did not measure strength by threat, a gaze that did not calculate survival, a gaze that saw and remained. I came exactly where I needed to come. Sukuna tilted his head, amused. Do you know who I am? Yes. And yet you chose to approach. Yes. Sukuna's smile widened. There was something almost childlike in his satisfaction. So you are brave, or stupid. The answer came without haste, as if one who does not need to defend himself. Love casts out all fear. First letter of John, chapter 4, verse 18. The word love did not echo there as comfort. It sounded like an affront. Not because it hurt Sukuna, but because it did not recognize him as authority. Love, there, did not place itself below the king of curses. It placed itself before. Love? Sukuna laughed. You chose to die with a weak word. The man took another step. The space did not react. No curse pushed him. No force held him back. I did not come to die. I came to talk to you. No one talks to me. They beg, they scream, they flee. Sukuna's gaze darkened. You are not doing any of those. Because I did not come to ask you for anything. That unsettled him. Not as a threat, but as a break in pattern. Everything around Sukuna operated on exchange. Obedience for survival, power for silence, fear for life. But that man offered no bargain. He did not ask for a truce. He did not plead for mercy. Then why did you come? He asked, now serious. The answer did not come as an accusation. It came as a declared truth. I came because you exist. Sukuna narrowed his eyes. I don't need to be saved. I know. I don't want redemption. I know. I don't regret. I know. The silence between them thickened. It wasn't tension. It was revelation. For the first time, someone wasn't trying to convince Sukuna of something. They weren't negotiating his identity. They weren't calling him a victim. They weren't explaining him. They were just recognizing him and staying. "So you came to waste time?" Sukuna provoked. "Because I'm not going to change." The man replied with words that contained no threat, but carried eternal weight. "I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners." Gospel of Matthew chapter 9, verse 13. Sukuna laughed. "Do you think I see myself as a sinner?" "No, you see yourself as truth." The answer was too precise. It touched the core. Sukuna did not see himself as someone who was wrong. He saw himself as someone who saw before, who realized that the world does not reward kindness, only strength, who did not believe in moral illusions, who embraced cruelty as clarity. "The world is weak," said Sukuna. "I was just honest." "The world is wounded," replied the man. "And you chose to rule the wound instead of healing it." Healing is a lie. Healing is a cross. The word cross cut through the air like something ancient, not as a religious symbol, but as a spiritual reality. Sukuna felt something he had not felt in centuries, discomfort without threat, a weight that did not come from fear, but from truth. "Who are you?" he asked, now without sarcasm. The man answered with the same simplicity that had sustained everything from the beginning. "I am the way, the truth, and the life." John 14:6. Sukuna understood, not with reverence, but with clarity. Jesus. There was no verbal confirmation. It wasn't necessary. The name already carried everything. Sukuna took a step forward. The ground trembled, not from an attack, from presence. "So tell me, Jesus," he said, "did you come to love me or to defeat me?" The answer came like a sentence that is not imposed, but remains. "I came that they may have life, and have it abundantly." Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 10. The King of Curses fell silent, because for the first time, someone did not want to defeat him, and that he did not know how to face. Sukuna remained still, not because he was assessing an attack, nor because he was calculating advantage. It was something rarer. He was measuring meaning. That presence did not compete with him. It did not try to occupy the throne. It did not offer an alternative kingdom. It did not promise greater power. It simply remained there, whole, as if the very fact of existing before him was the message. "Abundant life?" Sukuna broke the silence, his voice heavy with cold irony. "Look around. The world thrives on death. I just stopped pretending." Jesus did not avert his gaze. "The world lies in the evil one." First letter of John, chapter 5, verse 19. The phrase did not sound like an accusation. It sounded like a diagnosis. Sukuna felt this with growing discomfort. He had always been called evil, demon, calamity, but never a symptom. No one had ever looked at him as a consequence of something greater. "So you admit," said Sukuna, "that the world deserves what I do to it?" "I affirm that the world needs redemption," replied Jesus, "and you chose to be the judge where I chose to be the sacrifice." The contrast was brutal. Sukuna built his identity on the certainty that there was no real justice, only enough force to impose order. The idea of voluntary sacrifice was not just strange, it was offensive. Giving up power for love seemed to him the most elaborate form of lie. "You died," Sukuna said with disdain, "and the world remained the same." "I died," Jesus replied, "and death lost the right to be the final word." Epistle to the Romans, chapter 6, verse 9. Something moved within the King of Curses, not regret, not guilt, but deep irritation. Because that conversation did not bring him pleasure. It did not feed his cruelty. It did not inflame his vanity. On the contrary, it exposed the emptiness behind everything he called sovereignty. "You speak as if you have authority over me. All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth." Gospel of Matthew, chapter 28, verse 18. Sukuna laughed, but the laughter was short. "Then condemn me." Jesus did not respond immediately. The silence was not strategy. It was mourning. A strange mourning, because it did not come from loss, but from refusal. God did not send the Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. John 3:17. The word saved hung between them like something that did not fit. Sukuna never needed to be saved. He survived. He dominated. He reigned. Salvation implied fragility. It implied need, and he accepted none. "Do you really believe," Sukuna asked, now in a lower voice, "that someone like me could be different?" Jesus answered firmly but gently, "For God, all things are possible." Matthew 19:26. Even when there is no repentance, I offer grace before repentance. Repentance is born when the truth is seen. Sukuna felt something he would never admit out loud, that grace did not seduce him. It disarmed him. There was no pleasure in it. There was no gain. There was no submission. Just an open door that promised no glory, only truth. "What if I don't want to cross that door?" he asked. Jesus answered with words that did not press. "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens, I will come in." Revelation chapter 3, verse 20. "What if I never open?" Jesus held his gaze. "Then I will continue knocking." Time seemed to slow down. Sukuna realized, with uncomfortable clarity, that this love was not weak because it imposed no conditions. It was strong because it did not need them. It did not depend on a response. It did not demand a return. It did not feed on the change of the other. "You don't hate me," Sukuna said, almost as a statement. "I love you," Jesus replied, "not for what you do, but because you exist." This was too much. Not as a threat, but as exposure. Sukuna felt the urgency to react, to destroy that presence, to prove that nothing affected him. But something held him back. Not external force, not fear. Something more dangerous. The awareness that if he attacked, he would only be confirming what he had always been. And for the first time, that seemed small to him. "So go," he said, stepping back a pace. "Your love does not belong to me." Jesus did not advance. He did not insist. He simply declared, as one who seals an eternal truth, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." John's Gospel, chapter 1, verse 5. And then the presence began to withdraw, without triumph, without defeat, without spectacle. Sukuna was alone again. But the silence was now different, because, for the first time in all his existence, the King of Curses knew that love was not afraid of him, and that this left him facing a choice that power had never demanded of him. And this is where the story stops being about Sukuna. Maybe you are not as cruel as he is. Maybe you haven't made evil an identity. But maybe there is also something in you that doesn't want to be saved. A wound that became a throne. A pain that became doctrine. A pride that prefers to reign in emptiness rather than surrender to the truth. The gospel does not promise that love will conquer you. It promises that love will remain, even when you don't want to change, even when you don't ask for forgiveness, even when you don't kneel. That is the scariest part of Jesus' love. He doesn't need your permission to continue being love. And now the question is not whether Sukuna can be redeemed. The question is whether you are willing to admit that power never saved you. If this story touched something in you, don't run away. Don't rationalize. Don't turn it into entertainment. Maybe the love that was not afraid of Sukuna is right now knocking at your door. If you want to respond today, write in the comments. I open. Subscribe to the channel for more stories that confront, expose, and heal. Share with those you think have gone too far to come back. Because grace does not ask you to be good. It only asks that you be honest.